During Gamescom opening night live, Avalanche Software gave fans a new look at Hogwarts Legacy. The trailer opens with a Slytherin student named Sebastian Sallow showing interest in knowing more about Salazar Slytherin and the dark arts. The video shows some characters from Hogwarts Legacy discussing the pros and cons of using dark magic, which seems to be key to the central plot. Sebastian Sallow and the main character cast Crucio, and the pair end up in a fight against a horde of skeletons. They utilize offensive and defensive spells in the battle, and it seems like the decision to delve into the dark arts will form the backbone of Sallow's quest line in Hogwarts Legacy. There are 3 unforgivable curses in the wizarding world: the Imperius Curse, the Cruciatus Curse, and the Killing Curse. In the trailer, Sebastian Sallow makes the case for the dark arts to be life-saving when all else fails. And he wants to use them to unveil the secrets of his family while exploring a crypt protected by magical wards. Usually, indulging in dark magic is not an option for Hogwarts students because it's easy to succumb to its occult fascinations. And yet, Hogwarts Legacy's new trailer explicitly shows that players can make that choice themselves, but it will most likely come with serious consequences and the risk of being expelled if the story allows it. This choice puts players in a difficult position because the main character has to either endure Crucio at the hands of Sebastian Sallow to stay true to their principles or choose to forego them for the sake of getting to the bottom of a mystery and building rapport with the companion. For players who want to experience the dark arts, this could be the only way to access otherwise forbidden spells that could reveal more secrets while traveling around the world, as well as provide additional devastating tools when fighting enemies in magic duels.
Or as it may lead you down a darker path.
However, it's unclear how much Hogwarts Legacy is going to dig into dark magic just yet, and it's hard to predict the impact this choice could have on the playthrough, especially if multiple endings are on the table. In this case, using the dark arts could dramatically alter the story and the impact players can have on the wizarding world as a whole. This side of the Harry Potter universe is not something other games in the franchise typically explore, as they tend to be about the heroes that use socially accepted magic for good. The protagonist of Hogwarts Legacy could operate in a morally gray area where the events and the circumstances call for impossible choices. And this could provide players with a bit more leeway when using the dark arts for whatever reason. Overall, simply having the option to choose whether one wants to go down a sinister path is great for any RPG, and it's something more modern games should look into. But multiple endings are a double-edged sword for sequel storylines. The latest information came during Gamescom 2022 as Hogwarts Legacy not only got an extended gameplay trailer with new story details, but pre-order and digital deluxe details also came out. Inside the trailer, fans got a look at dark magic and forbidden spells like Crucio before fighting a horde of skeletons. Following that reveal, Avalanche has also revealed the contents of the Hogwarts Legacy Collector's Edition, as well as when players can place a pre-order. Hogwarts Legacy will come in a few versions. For fans of physical games, there is the Standard Edition, the Deluxe Edition, and the Collector's Edition. Gamers who want digital games can look forward to the Digital Edition and the Digital Deluxe Edition, which comes with a few intriguing goodies. This includes a Dark Arts pack featuring a Thestral mount, a Dark Arts cosmetic set, and a Dark Arts battle arena. It will also come with an Onyx Hippogriff mount, a Dark Arts garrison hat, and perhaps most enticing, 72 hours early access. This aligns with what prior Hogwarts Legacy leaks had suggested would be featured in the game's different editions. It had already been confirmed that players will be able to tame and mount magical creatures. Hence, players excited to jump onto a fantastic beast will probably want to consider the Digital Deluxe Edition. Thestrals will be familiar to Harry Potter fans, as they are the frightening creatures that pull the Hogwarts carriages. They are skeletal horses with bat-like wings, though they are invisible to humans unless they have seen death. Hippogriffs are majestic creatures that are also frequently mentioned in the Harry Potter franchise. Although they tolerate being mounted, they demand etiquette when being handled, and they are easily offended. Consequently, it is advised that one bow and wait for them to bow in return before approaching. Gamers have known for a while that they will be able to create and customize their character. But the contents of the different editions give a window into some of the customization options that will be available. Players will be able to have their playable character wear different hats and robes, though it is not yet clear whether any items of clothing will grant players advantages. It has also not been revealed whether there will be clothing exclusive to the various houses and if different clothing can be collected through gameplay or purchased at Hogsmeade. The Dark Arts pack also suggests that dark magic will be an important element in the game, with the Dark Arts Battle Arena perhaps serving as a location for players to have duels. Gamers have been speculating about how far the upcoming game will allow players to go on the path of dark magic. A prior trailer depicted the playable character performing the Avada Kedavra curse, which leads one to believe that players may be able to indulge their darker impulses. Although it remains to be seen how this could be handled with Hogwarts as an open-world setting. Despite many rightfully assuming that most of the content available within Hogwarts Legacy's Collector's Edition would be physical collectibles, the edition boasts a wide range of in-game benefits. While most of these in-game elements of the Collector's Edition are purely aesthetic, it must be said that there are a range of boosts to gameplay that are also present. The majority of these in-game benefits come with the Collector's Edition's Dark Arts pack. The pack contains a sinister-looking Dark Arts cosmetic set for the player character, an ominous wing thestral mount that the player can use, and a Dark Arts battle arena. With the recent Gamescom trailer for Hogwarts Legacy focusing on the Dark Arts, it appears that moral choice within the game is going to be a huge factor of core gameplay. Other in-game benefits that are included within the Collector's Edition are a wearable Kelpie robe and Dark Arts garrison hat, as well as 72 hours early access to the title before its release on February 10th. However, it is worth keeping in mind that early access and the Dark Arts pack are included in less expensive versions of Hogwarts Legacy, with the only exclusive digital item in this edition being the Kelpie robe. Players who order the Collector's Edition of Hogwarts Legacy will receive the game in a unique and sizable Collector's Edition box, perfect for prominent display. The game itself comes inside a custom Hogwarts Legacy steel case with the Hogwarts sigil embossed on the front, another element of this edition that will be perfect for display. The centerpiece of the Collector's Edition for Hogwarts Legacy is the life-sized floating wand illusion that it comes with, which sits atop a magical book base. The size and quality of this factor of the Collector's Edition is undoubtedly the largest driving factor behind the prestige and price of the edition, which has been met with controversy by some fans of Hogwarts Legacy. The official price for Hogwarts Legacy's Collector's Edition was recently announced, and it will put gamers at $300. Those who do choose to order the Collector's Edition will receive a wide range of attractive and useful in-game additions, as well as high-quality physical collectibles, so be quick as possible. Hogwarts Legacy, in addition to pre-order bonuses across various platforms, will feature a special quest for PlayStation gamers. The story of Hogwarts Legacy begins with players discovering their Hogwarts acceptance letter, which has been delivered a few years later than it was supposed to. Gamers will be able to customize their characters and join one of the 4 Hogwarts houses. Beyond the basics, however, little is known about the anticipated title. PlayStation exclusive mission will be included with any PS edition of Hogwarts Legacy, though the details of the quest, such as length and plot, have not been divulged. The unique PlayStation quest is not dependent on pre-ordering Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy will be released in February 2023. Players can expect more information before the release. It is unlikely that specific details about the PlayStation quest or the main story will be revealed. But that isn't necessarily a bad thing. From the Hogwarts Legacy Digital Deluxe Edition to multiple pre-order bonuses, fans are sure to be able to acquire interesting content. These potential bonuses, along with a rich and vibrant Hogwarts to explore, will be entertaining for any fan of the legendary literary series. Until the title is released officially, though, we will have to wait patiently for the new Wizarding World experience. Speaking of Hogwarts and WB, Warner Bros. Games head David Haddad talks about the Warner Bros. Discovery merger and its impact on game development going forward. Warner Bros. Games is currently riding out a very turbulent time. Warner Bros. And Discovery have merged, leading to significant layoffs across the company, the cancellation of major projects, and heavy criticism from fans across the world. Warner Bros. Games has managed to avoid involvement so far, but there are questions regarding whether that will stay true. In a recent interview, Warner Bros. Games head David Haddad talked about the situation, as well as how he sees the future of games at Warner Bros. Discovery. Perhaps most importantly, Haddad reiterates an earlier report confirming that the 11 studios under the WB Games banner have not faced any layoffs or cut projects. He also elaborates, explaining that ongoing development at WB Games has been well supported. He even sees the studios at WB Games as one of Warner Bros. Discovery's superpowers. Further, looking forward, Haddad says that WB Games has a critically important role within Warner Bros. Discovery. The implied justification for WB Games' relative security during a period of widespread upheaval in other Warner Bros. Discovery divisions is the success it's seeing. Haddad makes clear that WB Games is profitable, in no small part due to such a strong year for the company. He points to the recent launches of LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, one of the best-selling releases of 2022, and more recently Multiverses and its 20 million players worldwide. The future of WB Games is strong at the moment, too. WB Games currently has Gotham Knights launching in October, Harry Potter Hogwarts Legacy launching next February, and Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League arriving in 2023. In other words, there's no worry that numbers could decrease and put WB Games in a precarious position, barring one of its upcoming games proving to be unsuccessful. The game pipeline at WB Games should be active looking at the next several years. With that in mind, Haddad explains that the leadership of Warner Bros. Discovery has expressed a strong belief in Warner Bros. Games' growth and that it's a key part of Warner Bros. Discovery's company strategy moving forward. This should squash any rumors that Warner Bros. Discovery is considering the sale of WB Games Studios. Haddad is clearly portraying confidence in Warner Bros. Games' future as a part of Warner Bros. Discovery, which is expected given his position. Yet even with Haddad's confidence, there are going to be questions and rumors regarding WB Games' future. If Warner Bros. Discovery's HBO Max plans, or other content plans, continue to disrupt the company, then anything's possible. Fans of WB Games will just have to be patient and hope the company stabilizes soon. Based on the rumors circulating online right now regarding the next PlayStation showcase, Sony's muted appearance at the Gamescom opening night live event probably should have been expected. Considering the recent Helldivers 2 and Ballistic Moon leaks, all signs point to the publisher having its own imminent event in the pipeline. Despite all of this, though, Sony was still able to generate some excitement toward the start of the show via the PS5's brand new Dualsense Edge controller. During a brief trailer at the Jeff Keighley presented event, Sony showed off the PS5's new controller for the first time. In an article published on the PlayStation blog moments later, it went a step further and provided a breakdown of all its key features. Even though the idea of an elite controller isn't revolutionary, and the Dualsense Edge's existence leaked online earlier this year, it's easy to see it still being a coveted piece of technology, which is all the more reason why the asking price Sony sets for it needs to be just right. From all the information that Sony has shared about the PS5's Dualsense Edge controller so far, it looks as though it will be a solid piece of technology. Based on the extensive list of features that have been promised, it's also clear that the publisher has set out to improve what players loved about the original DualSense. 2 mappable rear paddles, changeable stick caps, and an extensive raft of customizable options, all should offer enhanced ways to experience games like God of War Ragnarok. From a pure functionality perspective then, the Dualsense Edge is ticking all the right boxes. Ultra customizable controls. You can make the Dualsense Edge wireless controller uniquely yours by remapping or deactivating specific button inputs and fine-tuning your aim by adjusting stick sensitivity and dead zones. Distance your analog stick moves before it's recognized in a game. In addition, each trigger is adjustable with options to tailor travel distance and dead zones to your preference. For example, you can manually reduce travel distance of the triggers for faster inputs in competitive FPS games or reduce the dead zone for precise throttle control in racing games. Ability to save multiple control profiles. Once you've found your ideal control settings, you can save them to unique profiles and swap between them on the fly. With the Dualsense Edge wireless controller, you'll always have your preferred controls for your games ready to go, whether you're facing Norse gods and monsters in God of War Ragnarok, or rival players in an online battle royale. The dedicated FN button allows you to easily adjust your setup while staying focused on the in-game action, quickly swap between your preset control profiles, adjust game volume and chat balance, and access the controller profile settings menu to set up and test new control iterations while in-game. 3 types of swappable stick caps, standard, high dome, and low dome, help you stay comfortable in-game while maintaining grip and stability. The 2 swappable sets of back buttons, half dome and lever, can be configured to be any other button input, putting more essential controls at your fingertips. Play longer with the ability to fully replace each individual stick module on the controller. Replacement stick modules will be sold separately. The Dualsense Edge wireless controller retains the signature comfort and immersive experience of the Dualsense wireless controller when playing supported games, including haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, built-in microphone, motion controls, and more. It's worth keeping in mind that the original launch Dualsense still retails for around $69.99, so players should set their expectations for north of that figure when it comes to a price. Although no release date or price has been shared, from Sony's perspective, setting the Dualsense Edge between $150 to $200 could be right for its own bottom line. What would work best for Sony's profit margins, though, wouldn't be great for the general public. If the Dualsense Edge is going to be adopted by PlayStation owners, and therefore become successful, its creator is going to have to be careful working out an asking price. For most people, whatever price it ultimately lands on will make or break their desire to buy one. As a piece of optional hardware, the PS5's brand new controller won't define the overall health of Sony's ecosystem. Still, that doesn't mean the publisher will want it to be a blot on its record because of an expensive price tag. There's also two moral elements to the Dualsense Edge's price that Sony would do well to keep in mind. Based on how PlayStation fans are going to have it and a second-generation PSVR headset marketed to them in the coming months, asking that same audience to pay through the nose for both wouldn't be a great look. Sony is still developing concepts which could see controllers improve even more. And Sony's latest patent describes a new kind of analog stick which is able to retract into the body of the controller. There are also plans to include a non-Newtonian fluid which would be displaced by the collapsible analog stick. A non-Newtonian fluid is a liquid which hardens in response to sudden pressure. And this should provide these analog sticks with a kind of inbuilt haptic resistance similar to the DualSense triggers. The fluid in the stick would also likely help to reset the analog stick fairly quickly once the player lifts pressure from them. This is an interesting design choice which could introduce a range of new gameplay features for developers to implement. These collapsible control sticks could act like two extra analog trigger inputs on the face of the controller, with which the player could maintain fine control of the game's analog inputs. Camera controls for 3D games are almost universally mapped to the right analog stick. And an extra dimension to move this stick in could allow players to easily zoom or focus the camera on a specific element of the environment. Implementing collapsible control sticks would be more than a design tweak for the DualSense controller, as it already features buttons which are pressed by pushing on the controller's analog sticks. Although these buttons are usually only utilized when a game runs out of face buttons to map its controls to, and even then, nothing vital is ever usually mapped to an analog stick button. Sony is exploring many things and improvements for the DualSense controller, as we already have talked about the electromagnetic motor analog controls in a previous video. To put the whole thing in perspective, the world's best controller just got better with more edge. Unfortunately, these two news, Hogwarts Legacy and DualSense Edge, are the only worthy things to talk about from that terrible Gamescom showcase. It ended up quite similar to the summer snooze fest. Furthermore, it also confirms that Opening Night Live next year will take place on August 22nd, really shifting everything forward by a day compared to this year. I need a PlayStation showcase as soon as possible, because these showcases have been just terrible and I want something to blow my mind soon. It's been frustratingly difficult for many people to get their hands on a PlayStation 5 since the new console generation kicked off in November 2020. This was attributed largely to an ongoing global computer chip shortage that is expected to last into 2024. In tandem with the perceptible increase in availability of the now current-gen consoles, there were also recently rumors that PS5 prices would increase, which Sony refused to comment on. Now that rumor has been confirmed as fact by the company in an announcement post on its official blog. These price increases will take place immediately, except in Japan where they go into effect on September 15, 2022. It's not clear how quickly storefronts will react to the change. The recommended retail price for the PlayStation 5 will be increased in Europe, the UK, Canada, Japan, China, Australia, and Mexico. At this time, there will not be a price increase in the United States, though that doesn't guarantee there won't be one in the future. According to the blog post, Sony is adjusting PS5 prices due to general inflation, which is taking place globally since the coronavirus pandemic negatively impacted economies beginning in 2020. The company also cited adverse currency trends as a reason, in which the US dollar became much stronger than the Japanese yen. In general, these price increases may not seem significantly substantial, depending on who is asked. For example, in the UK, the disk drive model of the PS5 could previously be purchased for £450. After the price adjustment, that number has jumped to £480. In Europe, there is a €50 difference, and the adjustments are in similar increments of about 10% in the other markets. An increase in PS5 prices will clearly mostly affect those who have already been frustrated in their attempts to purchase the high-demand console for nearly 2 years now. And, despite appearances, as stated before, the chip shortage is not expected to end anytime soon. This adjustment in the recommended retail price for the PS5 may have gamers worried about the price tag of the PS5 Dualsense Edge controller. However, according to data and analytics firm Ampere Analysis, even with the PS5 price increase, the sales of the console may see a minimal impact. Ampere's research director Piers Harding-Rolls predicted that the existing demand for the PlayStation 5 meant that Sony would have little need to alter its sales forecast. Harding-Rolls explained that while there will be disappointment for some consumers, such as those who have been saving up to buy a PlayStation 5 or those who've been otherwise struggling to find one, the price increase of around 10% isn't enough to heavily impact the sales of the console. According to Harding-Rolls as well, Sony's hand was forced in increasing the price of the PS5 due to supply chain and distribution costs increasing. Also, there have been a multitude of chip issues that have severely impacted the production of gaming consoles such as the PS5. These chip issues that have plagued the gaming industry aren't likely to end anytime soon according to analysts. But it seems that the PS5 is still pulling off some impressive sales figures despite them. Sony revealed recently that it sold 2.4 million PlayStation 5 units in the first quarter of 2022. Which was somewhat less than expected but did not deter the gaming titan from believing it could meet its sales targets for the console. Sony still wishes the PlayStation 5 to overtake the PS4 in terms of sales by the end of FY 2024. Both Microsoft and Nintendo came out and said they ain't increasing the price of their consoles. Nintendo's hardware is garbage and Xbox decided to take a hit. For gamers, this price increase is bad news, but at an objective standpoint the recent situation of the world can't be dismissed, as Apple and Meta are increasing the price for their hardware too. We have to wait and see if this affects the sales of the PlayStation 5 in the long run, but PS5 have the most demanded and demanding games. So, I don't see any drop-off, but PlayStation should focus on what's good for the hardcore PlayStation gamers. September looks like it will also contain a lot of fresh reveals on new and upcoming titles with the return of the Tokyo Game Show. TGS, or the Tokyo Game Show, is looking to make a big return this year. After a couple of events with digital-only showcases, TGS 2022 promises the return of a physical audience. Something that many gamers are happy to hear. Beyond allowing the return of crowds, Tokyo Game Show 2022 will also be featuring a lot of shows and streams from big gaming companies, as it has outlined in its recently unveiled schedule. Over the 4 days running from September 15th to 18th, there will be 38 programs streamed online, with 29 of those being official exhibitor programs sponsored by various big names in the gaming world including Konami, Square Enix, and Bandai Namco. The first 3 days of the show look to be packed with exhibitions, while the 18 marks where the excitement will be drawing to a close with notably fewer presentations. Those looking to watch the Tokyo Game Show outside of Japan will have a multitude of ways to do so. IGN will have cover for those in the United States, Huya will offer the same for China, and around the rest of the world gamers can watch live through the TGS special page on Steam. It is worth noting that all the times listed for the shows at TGS are in Japan Standard Time, meaning anyone wanting to catch a certain stream may be in for an early morning or late night depending on where they are. It seems Capcom is trying to give gamers a good chance at catching a glimpse of what it has coming, as the Street Fighter publisher has 2 streams planned for TGS. These streams were outlined in Capcom's recently revealed Tokyo Game Show plans. The famed company behind Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, and so many more franchises has one show set for its new and existing releases not related to Street Fighter 6. And its second stream dedicated to the upcoming fighting title. Apart from Capcom's double showcase, another interesting appearance at this year's TGS will be one from Xbox, with plans to show off the games it has already announced. Some are hoping this could include some new gameplay for exciting titles like Starfield, but nothing like that has been confirmed. What Xbox's show at TGS will look like is unknown, but even if all the streams available at this year's Tokyo Game Show aren't enough for a gamer, September is set for some other major events as well. EGX London and PX West are two other gaming shows set for September 2022, making the month a great one for video game fans. Capcom's program for its online event set for September 15th revealed 5 games the developer plans to bring to Tokyo Games Show 2022. Street Fighter 6 was confirmed to be receiving a new trailer during the event, showcasing characters coming to the game, alongside a look at the game's World Tour and Battle Hub modes. Exoprimal will also be making an appearance during Capcom's show with an update on characters, exosuits, dinosaurs, and more. Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak will give players their first look into the expansion's second free update, set to release in autumn 2022. The presentation will also feature 2 new entries into some of Capcom's most iconic franchises. Capcom's presentation will feature a segment covering Resident Evil Village Gold Edition, detailing some of the new content for the re-release set to launch in October. Capcom and Sony revealed recently that the PSVR2 version of Resident Evil Village will be playable at the event. The Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection will also be included within the broadcast, showcasing additional features coming to the Battle Network compilation. The announcement of Capcom's online program for the 2022 presentation also came alongside some special news for Street Fighter 6. Alongside Capcom's full presentation, Street Fighter 6 will also be receiving a separate focused, special program broadcast later on during the conference. The event is scheduled to take place on September 16th at 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time with producer Shuhei Matsumoto, director Takayuki Nakayama, and art director Kaname Fujioka appearing. The program will feature a real-time gameplay demo, as well as an in-depth look at Street Fighter 6's visuals. Capcom's Tokyo Game Show presentation will be part of a major return to normalcy for the annual convention. Tokyo Game Show confirmed earlier this year that the 2022 event would be the first physical Tokyo Game Show since 2019. At the Capcom booth at this year's Tokyo Game Show, the Resident Evil Village PSVR2 demo will be based around Castle Dimitrescu, where players meet the popular Lady Dimitrescu and her daughters. Given that the demo will be for a VR headset, Capcom is placing a heavy amount of focus on immersion, giving players an experience they aren't likely to forget by ramping up the horror with a virtual reality perspective. Alongside increasing the horror in Resident Evil Village, the demo will also mark the first opportunity for players to try the PlayStation VR2 before its release. Sony has confirmed this over on Twitter, so fans should only expect more to be revealed on the upcoming VR headset at the time of the Tokyo Game Show, which takes place between September 15th and September 18th this year. Already, Sony has confirmed that the PSVR2 is set to launch in early 2023, which led many to expect that some gameplay from the new platform would be shown off soon. Previously, it was announced that Resident Evil Village would be getting a full PSVR2 port, so fans are hoping that alongside the demo featuring Castle Dimitrescu, they will also see a release date for the new version of the game. With Capcom announcing that Resident Evil Village on the PlayStation VR2 will have a playable demo, it raises the question of whether some other confirmed titles for the platform will have a showcase at TGS, such as Horizon Call of the Mountain. Square Enix also showcases what games fans will be able to see at 2022's Tokyo Game Show, including some big surprises for this year's event. Perhaps the most interesting of the reveals about what fans will see at TGS is the confirmation of Final Fantasy XVI and the second part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake making their way to the event. Previously, it was believed that Final Fantasy XVI would not be featured at Tokyo Game Show at all, after a list of all the games Square Enix planned to showcase at the event was shared. Final Fantasy XVI's absence from that list was confusing for fans, who believed it was one of Square Enix's biggest upcoming releases. While this official information from Square Enix does confirm that Final Fantasy XVI and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will have a presence at this year's TGS, fans perhaps shouldn't hold their breath for brand new gameplay or trailers given the fact that both games weren't originally expected to appear. Due to the lack of hype being built around Final Fantasy XVI's appearance at the Square Enix booth, many are expecting that some old trailers will be shown instead of anything new. However, there is still the possibility that some new Final Fantasy XVI footage could be shown. Until Tokyo Game Show is over, fans won't know for sure what surprises may be coming from the event. It seems Square Enix has a bigger focus placed on its other upcoming titles. Action-adventure title Forspoken will be getting a showcase, alongside other highly anticipated games like the new Nier Automata The End of Yoarha edition for Switch and Tactics Ogre Reborn. Speaking of Tokyo Game Show, a new rumor making the rounds online suggests Konami is planning to remaster classic Metal Gear Solid games for modern consoles. And it may appear at the Konami booth at TGS 2022. Metal Gear Solid was once one of the gaming industry's premier franchises, but recent years has not been kind to it. Series creator Hideo Kojima's departure from Konami has resulted in the Metal Gear Solid IP being almost completely abandoned in terms of new game releases. And it doesn't look like a new entry is coming at any point in the near future. However, a recent rumor suggests that while a brand new Metal Gear Solid game may not be happening anytime soon, remasters of the classics could be on the way. This rumor was reported on by VGC, with insider Aesthetic Gamer chiming in with more details. After it was reported that Konami will be at Tokyo Game Show to make an announcement about a beloved game series, VGC talked about some of the Konami games that are supposedly in development. Like the Bloober Team's Silent Hill project and remasters of classic Metal Gear Solid games. VGC thinks that such projects will be announced at events like the Game Awards or a PlayStation State of Play instead of TGS. But the possibility of classic Metal Gear Solid remasters will likely have fans excited regardless. Aesthetic Gamer, who has accurately leaked Japanese gaming news in the past, primarily about the Resident Evil franchise, backed up the claims in the VGC report. Adding that Konami is planning to release remasters of Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, and Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. The titles will apparently be available as separate purchases, but also bundled together in a collection. Previous reports indicated that a Metal Gear Solid 3 remaster was in development at Virtuos, so while fans should wait for an official announcement, it definitely seems like something is going on. This is far from the first time that rumors have popped up about Konami revisiting the Metal Gear Solid franchise. It was previously rumored that a full-blown Metal Gear Solid remake was in development as opposed to a remaster, with the game potentially being made by Bluepoint Games, a studio known for its high-quality remakes. If Konami is making Metal Gear Solid remasters instead, it seems reports about a Metal Gear Solid remake were inaccurate. Right now, the only Metal Gear Solid project that fans can say with certainty exists is the Metal Gear Solid movie, which is set to star Oscar Isaac as Solid Snake and will be directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts. Amazon is one of the leading tech companies in the world. From shopping to healthcare, Jeff Bezos and his organization have been at the forefront of most technological advancements in the last decade. However, for all of its strengths, the one area Amazon hasn't nailed down is gaming. If its rumored purchase of Electronic Arts goes through, that would all change. Amazon has been trying to break into video games for a while. Even with all the money and resources at its disposal, there's always been something lacking from its previous efforts. Rather than fighting an uphill battle, Amazon has reportedly been exploring the acquisition of different studios, the most prominent being EA with the upheaval in the gaming industry recently. EA and Amazon joining forces could be a weird thing. There are currently two different gaming services that Amazon offers. The first is Prime Gaming, an add-on to Amazon Prime. Amazon also owns Luna, a cloud gaming service similar to Google Stadia. For all of its flaws, EA is still one of the biggest players in gaming. From Mass Effect to Battlefield, EA's collection of franchises is great. The concern for EA is not sales, but rather how it will keep up in an increasingly competitive environment. There are more game developers than ever before, and many have the ability to usurp the current leaders in the industry. Complaints about Madden have persisted, with each yearly edition seeming worse than the last. Apex Legends, on the other hand, has emerged as one of the most popular competitive games but has seen a concerning increase in hackers and bots as time has gone on. Making a flawless game is impossible, but EA has been relying more on its established brand to drive sales, rather than making its titles better. There are countless logistical hurdles to go through for a purchase of this magnitude, but it's easy to see how Amazon could help EA overcome its issues. With all the money at Amazon's disposal, it could pour a huge investment into EA's game development and maintenance. As one of the leaders in cybersecurity, Amazon could also make those resources available to EA to fix Respawn's hacking issues. Investors have already seen the benefit of a potential acquisition. In the wake of the rumors, EA's stock price soared in anticipation of a monumental Amazon purchase. With the size of each company, the move still feels unlikely. However, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard proved that anything is possible in this rapidly changing landscape. Amazon acquiring EA would give the company plenty more material to mine for potential TV shows or movies, with prime candidates like Dead Space, Dragon Age, and Mass Effect all coming to mind. Early in the morning on August 26, USA Today published a report claiming that Amazon was going to announce its intention to acquire Electronic Arts later today, causing EA's stock price to surge and hit a pre-market peak of $146.76. It has since come down to around $132.93 at the time of this writing. However, CNBC later stepped in to say that wasn't the case, and the stock price has started coming down. Neither Amazon nor EA have commented on the situation. If Amazon ever did acquire EA, it would just be the latest acquisition by the online retail giant. Earlier this year, Amazon acquired MGM Studios, and years ago, it acquired the Twitch streaming service, with the latter acquisition having an immeasurable impact on the industry. It's likely that Amazon acquiring EA would send similar shock waves throughout the gaming world, though it's unclear if it will ever actually happen. I don't care if this acquisition goes through or not. All I want from EA is for them to make more high-quality single-player games like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Dead Space, Dragon Age and Mass Effect. Speaking of acquisitions and acquiring stakes, Kadokawa Corporation announces that Tencent and Sony have both acquired larger stakes in From Software. Combining for over 30%. The announcement was made early on Wednesday by From Software's parent company, Kadokawa Corporation, revealing the newly bought shares of the developer. Following the issuance of the new stock shares, Tencent will hold 16.25% of From Software while Sony will sit slightly lower at 14.09%. Kadokawa Corporation will maintain its status as majority shareholder in the Dark Souls studio, following the purchase, holding 69.66% of From Software. Kadokawa cited the sale to Tencent and Sony as strengthening From Software's capabilities in regard to developing its own franchises like Sekiro and Elden Ring. From Software's new partnership with Sony comes after the developer has worked with Sony on exclusive projects multiple times in the past. From Software developed and released Bloodborne as a PlayStation exclusive on PS4 as well as releasing the original Demon's Souls on PS3. Recent rumors alongside a Bloodborne maintenance announced for today have also raised fans' suspicion about the game potentially receiving some kind of major news during Sony's upcoming PS showcase. The acquisition of a larger stake by Sony and Tencent comes as From Software has continued to ride the success of Elden Ring. After being one of the most anticipated games in the gaming industry for several years, Elden Ring was met with critical and commercial acclaim following its launch. A recent sales report from publisher Bandai Namco revealed that Elden Ring has shipped 16.6 million copies globally since its February launch. Alongside Sony's acquisition of Bungie earlier this year, the PlayStation developer was also heavily linked to Square Enix purchase rumors. Tencent has owned a majority stake in League of Legends developer Riot Games for several years, and Tencent was recently linked to negotiations with Ubisoft. The From Software purchase will add to the list of high-profile acquisitions that has continued to grow throughout the year, if it happens. There's a certain niche filled by games like Gravity Rush, giving players a unique experience that scratches an itch many didn't even realize they had. Unfortunately, any niche product will have a limited audience by default. So the majority of fans have likely resigned themselves to the idea of never seeing another Gravity Rush game after the second one. Luckily, it looks as though their appreciation for the property hasn't gone unnoticed. Deadline reports PlayStation Productions has teamed up with Ridley Scott's Free Productions to begin work on a full-fledged Gravity Rush movie. This news pretty much came out of nowhere, and little is actually known about the project, but it's sure to be a welcome surprise to anyone who found the cult hit game series to their liking. This early in production, details about the film are scarce at best. But the project does have a director and scriptwriter already attached. Anna Mastro, who helmed 2020's Disney Plus superhero movie Secret Society of Second-Born Royals, will direct the Gravity Rush film. Meanwhile, the script will come from Emily Jerome, known for writing the upcoming Anthony Mackie-led thriller Panopticon. Originally starting out as one of the PlayStation Vita's defining exclusive titles before getting a port to the PS4. Gravity Rush set itself apart from many of its contemporaries with its creative methods of traversal and its endearing protagonist Kat. As a young woman who lost her memory, all she knows is that she can control gravity, thanks to her mysterious cat friend, Dusty. So she uses her powers to defend her found home of Hexaville while bounding around the floating city. It's a simple story, but the visual and gameplay style drew audiences in enough to get a proper sequel made. Though, odds are, the movie will more than likely just retell the events of the first game. This could be excellent news for those who have been holding on to that last shred of hope that Gravity Rush still had some life in it as a franchise. Aside from some cameos in other games, things have largely been quiet surrounding Kat and her friends since 2017's well-received Gravity Rush 2. So just the announcement of this movie is likely the most prominent story regarding the series since then. That's not even to mention the possibility of hearing something reminiscent of the game's beloved soundtracks on the big screen. Again, little is known about the movie. But considering the kinds of production values put into other PlayStation Productions projects like Uncharted, fans might not be out of line getting their hopes up a bit. Perhaps, at the very least, this will inspire Sony to finally release a PS5 patch for Gravity Rush 1 and 2 or a sequel. Hey, everyone's allowed to dream. The art of making movies out of video games has a long and bad history, but things have been on an upswing lately. A few good examples have softened the memories of the bad ones, but that doesn't suddenly mean that every game that sells a few million copies can make the leap to the big screen. The opening salvo of good video game movies came in 2019 with Detective Pikachu and was followed swiftly by the incredible double act of the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. Those films sold well, earned positive reception from fans and critics, and vastly changed the cultural perception of video game movies for modern audiences. Several big video game studios are making their intentions to move their efforts into the cinematic space clear. Nintendo now has an internal film studio. Sega has named several big and small properties of theirs that will be following the Blue Blur's lead. Thanks to the financial success of the recent Uncharted film adaptation, Sony is excitedly joining the club. Several substantial recent PlayStation releases are set to come to the multiplex or the small screen within the next year or two. The twin stars of this business plan are Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us. The former has a film adaptation in the works courtesy of John Wick director Chad Stahelski, while the latter is heading to HBO Max with Pedro Pascal in the lead role. Recently, HBO released the teaser for The Last of Us show, and I have mixed opinions about that. Both are very cinematic gaming experiences with a lot of notes taken from existing popular film and TV projects. Days Gone was released in 2019, developed by Bend Studio, and it landed within the top 20 best-selling games of that year. It's an open-world third-person shooter that puts the player in the role of outlaw biker Deacon St. John. It sold well, over 8 million copies by some estimates, but it didn't have the level of positivity one might expect from critics or audiences. Sony even shut down the potential sequel. Despite that explicit show that Sony does not have faith in the IP, a feature film adaptation is on the way. This is the one that pisses me off. They don't make sequels to these games, but make movies and TV shows of them. I don't definitely prefer these movie and TV adaptations, but I hope if these movies takes of, then PlayStation could consider make another game in the series due to risen popularity among gamers. On August 23rd, 505 Games and Kojima Productions will be bringing Death Stranding to PC Game Pass. Console-wise, the game is still only available on PS4 and PS5, but the PC version will then be accessible on PC Game Pass. Game Pass had been teasing this by changing its profile picture on Twitter, slowly making the background look more and more like Death Stranding, so this doesn't come as a surprise now, but still. A PlayStation first party on some form of Game Pass is quite the shock. Windows 10/11 PC gamers will be able to access ultra-wide mode, photo mode, a high frame rate, and crossover content for Death Stranding, as well as a few items that will unlock throughout the game's story. Chiral Gold / Omni-Reflect, Laden's Mask, Sunglasses, Gold and Silver Power Skeleton, Gold and Silver All-Terrain Skeleton, and Gold and Silver Armor Plate. While there are still some questions to be answered, 505 Games and Kojima Productions will answer them soon. The companies are going to create a community Q&A guide in the coming days and encourage fans to keep an eye on social media for this information. Death Stranding sought to establish a new, Strand genre that was all about connections. Indeed, this idea is very much at the core of 505 Games bringing this version of the game to PC. This is weird, as PlayStation had no call on this deal. Microsoft, 505 and Kojima made this deal behind the scenes, which we didn't see coming. PlayStation should have been fucked up in the contract terms, that it allowed another company to publish your first-party game on a competitor's service. But, this didn't make any waves and people who want to play it, already did, and it is the standard version that is on PC Game Pass, not even the latest director's cut. The PS Plus free games for September 2022, also known as the Essential tier, will be available to all subscribers from September 6th to October 4th, with this selection including the following titles: Need for Speed Heat, PS4, TOEM, PS5, and Granblue Fantasy vs. PS4. Need for Speed Heat is an interesting inclusion. NFS Heat is, as of now, the last title in the franchise, and all in all, it's a pretty solid racing game. What's interesting, though, is rumors and leaks swirl around the next NFS game that's expected to be revealed soon. If a proper new game reveal for the next NFS does indeed come soon, that'll likely boost the PS Plus downloads. And this wouldn't be the first time EA has used a service like PS Plus to build hype around an upcoming game. It did so with Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 2042 in the summer of 2021. TOEM, meanwhile, is a black and white narrative adventure game, where the entire world is hand-drawn. Players will unravel the mysteries of this world by using their photography skills to solve the various problems of the game's NPCs. Granblue Fantasy vs. wraps up the selection, and it's a 2.5D fighting game made by Arc System Works filled with a cast of interesting and complex characters. Multiplayer games often do well on PS Plus, as it's an instant community boost, so Granblue should fit right in. Sony also confirmed 17 games that are coming to PS Plus Extra and Premium on September 20th. These include some major PS4 and PS5 titles for PS Plus Extra, such as Deathloop and Rayman Legends, but also several classic games for that catalog too, like Sly Cooper and 2 PSP games. What's great about this PS Plus selection is that it doesn't just emphasize quantity, but quality too. Many of these games are great additions to the service that may leave subscribers questioning what to play first. Deathloop, for example, was loved at launch, and games like Dragon Ball Xenoverse have persisted over the years for a reason. Perhaps the greatest inclusion is seen in the premium tier, however. For some reason, Sony did not add any classic games to the PS Plus Premium lineup in August 2022. It left a gaping hole, but this month definitely set out to fill it. Fans get the Sly Cooper games, which speak for themselves, but also 2 PSP games, Toy Story 3 and Kingdom of Paradise, and a beloved PS1 game. It's uncertain why Sony revealed these titles early or if fans should expect the monthly reveal to be all in one moving forward, but is no doubt an exciting day. And that's all for the video guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then from SMPV, it's goodbye.